Welcome to Valour Strike channel. My name is Robert Tobias. I'm a British kickboxing champion. Today I want to talk to you about something essential for any fighter, which is evading strikes, okay, or defending, blocking your opponent's strikes. It's not just about getting in that ring and throwing your own punches and kicks, okay, because your opponent will be doing the same thing to you, so you need to make sure that you're trying to evade and counter their strikes. The first and the most essential part to defend any strike, okay, and this is the most easiest way to do it, is by just keeping your hands up nice and tight. So once you step in that ring, once that bell goes, okay, we need to start defending, okay, and the first thing we need to do is keep our hands nice and tight, okay. Keep our chin tucked in, hands up, elbows tight to our ribs, okay. We're trying to connect our elbows or rest our elbows on our hips, otherwise we're holding our hands up for too long, which means our shoulders fatigue, okay, and then our hands get tired. Where if I'm here, I'm just resting my elbows on my hips, keeping my hands tight on my head, and now I'm protected from any strike coming at me, okay. I can try to defend here, block, catch, okay, kicks, everything, okay. My sides are protected. I can just adjust slightly my hands by moving forwards or backwards, okay, but everything's nice and tight. My guard is always closed up, okay, so I'm just moving around here, keeping everything nice and tight. So now that we got our hands nice and tight, elbows tucked in, everything's gathered up, okay, we can add into our slipping while keeping our hands nice and high, okay, nice and tight, okay. When we slip, we're just going to move our head left and right, left and right. We only make a small motion with our head because we don't want to move too far away from our opponent, because then it gives us less time to counter or gives him more time to return his shot back where it came from. So if my opponent throws a jab, I slip on the outside of the jab, I make a small movement because that's all I need to get out of the way of it, and then I can throw my counters. But my hands still stay up nice and tight. When I slip, I always make sure I try to stay close to my opponent's hand, or I always try to go towards his elbow, okay, because then you know you're in close, okay? Don't try to move too much because it's only a small little motion to get out. So here, we just move slightly off center. We can also introduce a little layback or a pullback, so where we just move our head back here, just slightly back. It's a small little motion. If my opponent throws a shot, I just slightly move back and put myself out of the way of the strike. Here. It doesn't have to be a big motion because you always want to move just big enough to get out of the way, but small enough so you can still be in the range to throw your counters. Okay, so to further our defense, okay, from evading the strikes, we're still absorbing them shots that our opponent's throwing, okay? Like if I'm tucked it here, my opponent throws, I don't know, across and I'm just slipped, okay? And then he throws a kick, and I'm still taking that kick onto my arm. I'm absorbing that shot, I'm absorbing my shot into my arm, which means then if I want to throw something back, I might struggle because I'm just taking damage to the hand the whole time. So what we could do is, we could start a little block into it where I'm going to bring my hand across from the opposite side. I'm trying to block that right kick on my left side. So just bring my hand across and I double up protection. So I've got gloves on, I'll bring my hand across here. And now I've got double the protection, okay, I'm absorbing that shot here. I'm not taking it directly on my hand, I'm taking it onto a glove. Just gives me extra padding to protect myself from the strike. If I'm quick enough, I can bring my shin up and try to do a shin block. Here, come, where I'm trying to absorb my opponent's kick into my own shin. It's still gonna hurt me, but it's gonna hurt my opponent a lot more than it's gonna hurt me because he's putting that power into it. I'm just bracing it, trying to stop his kick from coming at me. When you bring your knees up, make sure you keep your elbow on the same side on the outside of the knee. If they throw that kick hard and you block and you bring your elbow on the inside and the kick goes over your leg, it's gonna kick the elbow and your hand's not strong enough to protect the kick. So you're gonna basically elbow your own ribs. So you always keep your elbow on the outside of your knee, because if they kick over, your knee's gonna stop from that elbow coming forwards or coming in. So we can introduce footwork now. So when my opponent is throwing his strikes, if I stand in front of him, okay, and I'm absorbing strikes, okay, I'm still absorbing damage. Where if I start moving round, okay, and he throws a kick, and he still lands the kick, but I move with the kick, now the kick won't hurt me as much because I'm moving away from it. Because when he throws that kick, he's gonna aim right directly at me, but if I move slightly off Now the kick is going to lose some of its force. So I move with the kick, I move with the punches, okay? Here, boom, I just get off slightly off center. So he throws the right kick and I move to my right, boom. I'm just taking some of that force out of that kick. It still might land, okay? But it's not gonna cause as much damage as if I stay there. So now this is a great way to evade your opponent's strikes. So kind of stop your opponent from throwing strikes at you, which is you throw your strikes at them, okay? So if I'm just stood there always moving around, keeping my hands nice and tight, there's nothing that makes my opponent like hesitate from throwing his shots, okay, his strikes. So where if I'm just tucked in, I'm moving, he's just gonna constantly hit me, punch me, kick me. Where if I start throwing my strikes now, he has to worry about me landing my strikes. So it's kind of gonna make him hesitate on throwing his own shots. So if I'm moving in, I throw my own strikes. So now my opponent is gonna be struggling on trying to find a gap where he can throw his own strikes, because he has to worry about in case I land mine. However, he will come back. So if you always go forward, pam, 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 he's gonna hit you back with something, okay? So you need to make sure when you go forwards, you throw a couple of your strikes, okay? You throw your hands, you throw your knees, you throw your kicks, and then you disengage, okay? And then whenever you're ready, you keep your hands nice and tight, and then you go back engage, okay? Use your slips, okay? Use your blocks, and then we go back inside. We throw our shots, pam, 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 and then we move off. Okay, we engage, and then we disengage. So attacking is another great way on being able to defend or stop your opponent from throwing their strikes. To be able to learn all this, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you get in that ring, you get that experience, you get some sparring, because you need to get that experience of getting hit. Because once you start getting hit, you're forced to defend. So if I'm always just hitting the bag, hitting the pads, but I'm actually not doing anything where my opponent or my partner is hitting me, it's never going to really teach me on how to defend. So I always need to make sure I'm doing something where I'm being forced to defend. Like if I get in that ring, I'm going to be sparring somebody, I need to make sure I stay in sometimes. I'm purposely going to stay inside in that pocket, make sure my opponent's in that range to throw his shots, because now I'm going to make sure that my hands stay up, okay? Make sure I'm doing good slips, okay? He throws his strikes, I'm trying to time it, okay? So he throws, let's say, right kick, and I'm trying to time it and step off with that kick, because now I've timed it perfectly, he's off balance, I can throw my counters, okay? He throws his jab, throws his cross, and I slip on the outside, okay? Now he's left the gap for me to hit. So when you do your sparring, make sure you don't just focus on your footwork where you're trying to run away. So don't ever try to copy all these like famous fighters you see on TV, Floyd, McGregor, because they've achieved, or they've trained for years, so they've got that time and they've got their reflexes. So what you want to do is you want to start basic and you want to just slowly progress, okay? Sometimes it's good just to stay inside, okay? Because if you get hit, then you know your defense is weak, okay? So sometimes just staying, you're trying to practice evading, you're trying to practice your counters, you're trying to practice your blocks, okay? Don't just sit there and try to run away, because if you run away, you're not learning how to defend, okay? Yes, you're not getting hit, at the same time, you're not practicing your defense. So the key here is practice. The best way to practice is staying inside that pocket and just trying to absorb or time the shots and move out the way of the shots as they're thrown. Remember, defense is as important as offense in combat sports. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the ring.